Script here with another video. So we begin with the plan. First, Rose Tico basically calls Finn a coward because he wants to find Rey, but then when Finn tells her the First Order can track the resistance through light speed, she immediately starts listening to Finn, and they devise a plan to turn the power off of the power breaker on the tracker the First Order uses to track through light speed. It does set up a really stupid, slow crawl chase so that the resistance doesn't run out of fuel. And it's like, why are you guys running out of fuel? You just left your base. Like, not having enough fuel is another brilliant move by General Leia, whose competence in this movie is negligible at best. They always have to make the OT characters look dumb. And you would think, you're on your base, you would think all of your ships that have just been sitting there would be full of fuel. That's the first thing you would do when you arrive, is make sure everything's full. No, we gotta set up the slow crawl, we gotta set up this whole plot line. All of it, this entire plot line, hinges on the fact that Leia didn't have these ships fueled up. Like, that's a little insane. So the whole idea is pretty stupid. Now, having said that, I guess technically they could go across the galaxy and eventually run out of fuel, but then at the same time, the First Order would be faced with the same thing, and the First Order was in space, so logic would tell you if the Resistance was on a base where they were fueling up their ships, and if they couldn't fuel them up there, why are they there? And the First Order's in space, and they've been traveling around. So it would stand to reason that if she had made sure that the ships were full when they got there, that they would have more fuel than the First Order would have, which again brings me back to the whole thing that this entire plot line in The Last Jedi revolves around Leia not filling up the gas tanks of the ships when they landed on Dakar. Then somehow, they had a full schematic detailed readout of the First Order's main ship. Yet Rose needs Finn to find the breaker room for some reason. So they literally zoomed all the way into this spot on the ship, which showed the tracker, how to get there and everything. Like, they had the full everything about it. And for some reason, they need to find the breaker room, so Finn has to go with her, because even though they have a full schematic of the ship, they had to have a reason for Finn to go with her, right? Because he was the janitor that mopped the floor and knows where the breaker room is. He used to clean it. So, because it's so compelling that he's this First Order stormtrooper, but not really. He was a janitor. I don't even understand how that even works. They're supposed to take them as kids and make them stormtroopers, right? That was the thing. Number them, make them stormtroopers. That's what happened to him. But then he ends up as a janitor, but then he's back as a stormtrooper in The Force Awakens. So the whole thing is just totally retarded. Or are they pulling stormtroopers aside for janitorial duties instead of training them? Like, how seriously are you taking your stormtroopers? So again, that's another just totally didn't even think of that dumb thing. Then, after all this, Finn's like, yeah, you can't get on that ship. They will see us. Like, didn't he know this whole time that they were planning this? So they were talking about it at the base. They've been flying around in space in their ship. He never brought that up, that you can't get on the ship, but they were planning the whole thing around getting on the ship. Anyway, Poe calls Maz. Just like, oh, I'll call Maz. And she tells them to go to Canto Shite to find the codebreaker, who will happen to be wearing a certain lapel. Like, honestly, the Finn says nothing. Finally, when he says it, and Poe's like, bro, well, if we can't get on, what are we going to do? Call Maz! And I guess in this gigantic galaxy, this codebreaker guy, that's just what he does. He wears this certain lapel at all times, 24 hours a day. He's got the lapel on. He never changes it, never wears anything else. That makes perfect sense. And of course he's a gambler, so they go off to Canto Bite. And even before they get to Canto Bite, Rose tells Finn it's full of the worst people in the galaxy, despite her never actually having been there. Almost as if Rose already had an alternate agenda to deal with these terrible rich people. And they park their ship on the beach in plain sight instead of somewhere even slightly hidden. And then they get ratted out to the cops by one of the terrible people, because this was the best setup Rian Johnson could come up with for the police chase later in the movie. Finn enjoys this new fancy world, having seen it for the first time, while Rose is all grumpy and hates all of it. And this is where the main plot of Canto Shite comes to light. Rose and Finn see the bunny horse race. And then Rose explains how it's evil and the animals are slaves and all these rich people are evil because they sell weapons to the First Order. So now the new real mission is foreshadowed and the codebreaker plot is pushed to the side. The other thing that's strange is all these evil rich people are all dolled up and like wearing their finest suits and dresses and like all this stuff. And no one seems to care that this dirty mechanic and some guy with a leather jacket are running around and drawing attention to themselves. And so they find the code breaker and they immediately get arrested for parking on the beach. Yep. They are too dumb to land the ship anywhere other than right where they weren't supposed to, in a spot where everyone could see it. So a Karen alien reports them and they're being arrested. And I guess Ro, who seems to know everything about Canto Bite, didn't know about their parking policies. And then inside their cell, their cellmate happens to be another guy who can crack the code and sneak them onto Snoke's ship. He overhears them talking about it. He just happens to be in this cell. What? And so now, being dumb and getting arrested didn't really matter anyway. It was actually a good thing. Now they found another guy anyway. And the guy easily opens the cell door and they get out. And this is where the whole thing gets exponentially dumb. So they sneak down to the stables of the horse bunny things. The cops are looking for them. And Rose is just so happy to see the horse bunnies and is obviously thinking about freeing them. And they met the slave kids working in the stable. And then it cuts to the cops looking for them in the stable. So you assume a bunch of time has gone by. And then the gates open and Finn and Rose go riding into the city on the horse bunnies. But what about the slave children? They just left them there. All Rose's talk about bad people and her sister were exploited, blah, blah, blah. And she just leaves the kids and saves the animals that, as we see, don't get anywhere. Anyway, there's a cliff. And they'll just be rounded up after all this anyways. And they leave the kids. Why didn't she bring the kids? And the weird part is, like, the kids help them. So, like, the kids, for all intents and purposes, are going to get beat down by that mean guy that runs them. And yet, like, Rose doesn't care. I saved the horse bunnies. Who cares about the kids? They run through the casino and smash everything and then run through the streets of Canto Shite. And we get this wonderful zoom in on the vagina forehead alien. Like, really important that we got the vagina forehead alien in there. And then, oh no, they're about to get to their ship and the cops blow it up. What are they going to do now? What do we do? Everything's just happening without any real plans and everything's just a fluke. So they get to a cliff and they look back at the horse bunnies all wandering around in the field and they're all happy before they realize, oh yeah, we're still being chased by those cops who blew up our ship and nearly killed us like a minute ago. And then somehow stealing the horse bunnies saves them as the code breaker from their cell just shows up with a ship and BB-8. So somehow there's the code breaker and BB-8 just somehow figured, yeah, man, like they're gonna go and they're gonna save those horse, but like they're gonna go into the sewer and they're gonna go, that's where they're gonna hide, is in the stable for sure, right? Because that's just what people do. And then they'll break them out and they'll ride them, and because they're riding on them, they'll end up in this location. Yeah, that's good, yeah. Like, what? And then we end up with this shot of the horse bunnies all huddled together. So they'll easily be caught again and used on the track. And again, what about the kids? This whole thing amounted to nothing but a fluke fest to which somehow a bunch of random dumb events ended up just happening to end up with this guy who could get them onto Snoke's ship. Okay, and then at the end of the movie, the kids are still slaves in the stable. Nothing changed for them. In fact, nothing has changed at all. All the rich people are still doing rich people stuff. We're the resistance, but we're only here for a virtue signal to save the animals. We don't care about you slave kids. But Rian Johnson needed some reason for Luke's legendary encounter with Kylo to be talked about by someone out in the galaxy. Might as well be the slaves kids. Let's make it the slave kids. Yay! And then how did they even know about it? It happened like the same day. The movie takes place over 3 days. Did the First Order tell them? That is just a whole other stupid story and video for another time. So you guys let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this scene? This whole entire plot point was so badly done. I can't believe how poorly done it was. Even for Rian Johnson, this is really bad. It is right up there with some of the worst things in this trilogy. Obviously, there's stuff that's even worse, which is mind-boggling, but this was so stupid. So you guys let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you think this was just the dumbest sequence of events that you've seen in a while in a Star Wars film? And or am I being too hard on them? Do you like Rose's virtue signaling? And then she virtue signals at the end again with the Finn kiss, and we're gonna save what we love, we're not gonna fight what we hate. It's just like this, she's just this giant virtue signal, but she's a mechanic. That makes sense. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Always helps the channel. And if you like any of my other content, please check it out. I got a whole bunch of videos on my YouTube channel. And have yourselves a really good day.